Welcome once again. Welcome back to another edition of NFNC Sunday Rap Session. I am Okoti Tamar, and this is news, facts, and comments in conjunction with Major TV. Welcome in, family. Come on in, grab a seat. We got some news to talk about. As usual on this Sunday, we go live at 5 here at News, Facts, and Comments in Major TV. So a lot of things came across my desk, and it's good things, but then, we keep it real over here. We talk about the bad things that happen to us as well. This is a platform for news. We're going to give you the facts, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of commentary. So without further ado, we want to go ahead and invite some more people in to join us. So if you're in the chat, let me know that you're in the chat by, shouting out where you're from, where you're residing at right now, where you're listening in at right now, so we can go ahead and get the party started. Family, it has been a heck of a week. I lost someone that was very, very dear to me, so that is news. That's why I've been kind of quiet this past week. Mr. Isaac Singleton Jr. went home, went on the other side, free from all of the BS and negativity that's in this world. And so I attended the service on Friday night. Couldn't bring myself to go on Saturday, but I want to say rest in power to Mr. Isaac Singleton. He definitely will be missed. So as you guys come on into the room, let me go ahead and say that what you're about to see in this first couple of news articles is very disturbing, but it made the news, and I just want to share it with you. Some of you may be aware of some of these stories, and some of you may never heard of these stories before. So it is my job to make sure we bring forth the information. So first on the chopping block is law enforcement in this community. You guys let me know in the comment section or in the chat if you think that law enforcement is out of control. If you think that they have too much discretion in this hour, please let me know. So let's go ahead and get into the first story. So it says here, man killed by San Antonio Police Department officers shot 12 times, including 8 times in the back. Autopsy shows. Kevin Johnson, 28, was armed with the gun when killed by officers in March of 2022. The reason why I'm bringing out this story now is because we finally got the reports from the autopsy. And I'm going to read it, and you guys let me know if y'all see any disparities or anything that's kind of funny, fishy, right? So let's read what happened.
A man killed by San Antonio police officers last year near Westside Creek was shot 12 times, including 8 times in the back. An autopsy report obtained Wednesday by KSAT 12 News investigative show. The release of the 14-page autopsy report by Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office comes after a grand jury earlier this year declined to indict 3 officers in connection with the shooting death of Kevin Johnson, 28. Johnson was wanted on multiple felony warrants when officers with San Antonio Police Department Street Crimes Unit located him on March 14, 2022. Johnson was seen in the dash cam video. One second. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah. Johnson was wanted on multiple felonies. He was seen in a dash camera video riding a bicycle before an officer swerved near him and attempted to stop him. After a foot pursuit, the officers covering about 2 city blocks, Johnson ran through a shallow creek between Elmendorf Street and Hamilton Avenue. At one point, an officer was recorded on his body camera appearing to tell Johnson to get down, boy. Officer spotted a gun in Johnson's right hand as he exited the creek, San Antonio officials previously said. Officers repeatedly shouted for Johnson to drop the gun as he appeared to trip and roll forward into the embankment on the other side of the creek, so clearly running away. After one officer said that Johnson had a gun in his hand and officers yelled, "Gun, gun, gun," they fired a flurry of shots at Johnson, killing him. A handgun was recovered on the scene. San Antonio Police Department officials included a still image of the grass-covered gun. The grass-covered gun with a bullet lodged at the angle in the chamber in a previous video release. An autopsy performed the morning after Johnson's death found multiple gunshot wounds present on the body and were labeled as the following: superficial gunshot wound located at the right chest, gunshot wound located at the left back, the right back, another one at the right back, another one at the right back, gunshot wound located on the right lateral back, gunshot wound located on the lower right back near the midline, gunshot wound located on the lower back, gunshot wound located on the left buttock, gunshot located on the dorsal right thigh, and gunshot wound located on the dorsal left forearm. None of the gunshot wounds showed evidence of close-range firing, according to the autopsy report. 9 projectiles and fragments were recovered from Johnson's body, while a 10th was recovered from the sleeve of a jacket worn by Johnson at the time of his death. A deputy chief medical examiner ruled Johnson's manner of death as a homicide. 2 of the gunshot wounds pierced Johnson's heart, 3 gunshot wounds pierced his lungs, and 3 gunshot wounds penetrated or fractured his spine. All of those gunshot wounds produced injuries considered to be life-threatening, according to the autopsy. The remaining 4 gunshot wounds would not have been life-threatening, the report says. Additionally, a toxicology screening revealed that Johnson had benzodiazepines, common in sedatives used to treat anxiety, and cocaine in his system at the time of his death. All 3 officers were cleared by San Antonio Police Department Internal Affairs following an internal administrative investigation. Furthermore, a grand jury no-billed the officers involved in the case. The department remains committed to transparency, and the critical incident video was posted online following the incident, and San Antonio Police Department said. A spokesperson for the Barry County Attorney's Office previously told KSAT 12 via email regarding the no bill decision, quote, the facts, evidence, and applicable law were presented to the grand jury on August 31st, 2023. After private deliberation, the grand jury declined to return a true bill of indictment. Now, let me just stop right there. I wanted to just keep going, but let me just stop right there. You have the San Antonio Police Department investigating themselves. And then you have a prosecuting attorney that works in conjunction or hand in hand with the police department. You know, that's the prosecuting attorney. That's the one that brings forth charges, right? The DA's office, district attorney. They bring forth the charges, but they work all the time hand in hand with the cops that makes the arrest. So do you really think that prosecutor presented the best case to indict these police officers? That's one thing about the legal system I think that we should definitely fight to change in regards to how they investigate crimes against us, because clearly there has been a violence and still is a bias towards the way these law enforcement officers are time and time again involved in these assault against citizens, murdering citizens, and just their discretion to just arrest you or detain you. Clearly, there's a bias based on the amount of so-called African Americans, so-called blacks that's in prison today. Continuing with the article. Johnson posed with guns on social media hours before the death. Now, I'm just giving you all the facts as they presented here at KSAT 12. This is a local news station. So these are all the things that they have presented for the public to see to what? Justify that the San Antonio Police Department shot this man 8 times in his back. This just justifies it. Johnson posed with guns on social media hours before death. A report from KSAT investigators last year revealed that Johnson posed with multiple handguns on social media hours before officers shot and killed him. Johnson, at the time of his death, was wanted on a warrant for being a felon in possession of a firearm. Court records show San Antonio Police Department officials previously said Johnson was wanted on a warrant for violating his parole in a previous assault of a peace officer case. So they were already looking for him. And then he gets on social media and flashes guns. So now you got a target, or you created a target on your back. That's why I tell my brothers and sisters, we don't have to let everybody know what kind of firearms we have. It's not necessary to go on social media and flash your guns, because then you're going to be targeted, because they're looking for individuals such as yourself to have a reason to come in, approach you, and have a reason to detain you or engage with you, all on a mission to lock you up. We need to stop advertising our firearms. I'm not impressed. But obviously these cops are, because I think he was targeted. You already done something. You already had an encounter with a peace officer. Not quite sure if you used a gun in that scenario. May the Most High rest him in power. But I'm saying, you had an encounter with a police officer. You already had a warrant out because you was flashing a gun online. And so they were looking for you, fella. A short video which appeared to be recorded on a cell phone and posted to Facebook stories under the account Splash Johnson showed a man resembling Johnson whose face was partially covered by a handkerchief holding 2 guns outside of a home. In a second video, which shows Johnson inside a home with the handkerchief removed, he again holds 2 guns and at one point aims the one gun to the camera. In the third video, recorded inside a McDonald's and posted on the same account, The person recording the footage moves a bag and reveals a handgun placed on the seat at the restaurant. The final few seconds of the video shows that Johnson was recording it. A San Antonio police official confirmed last year that officers working to locate Johnson were aware of his social media posts showing the handguns. Officers had been looking for Johnson for several days after a warrant for felon in possession of a firearm was issued early March 22nd. So what I'm saying is it looks like he was a felon. He's already had some type of felony charge. And now he's going to be on Facebook and Twitter or Instagram or TikTok with guns, knowing a convicted felon cannot possess a firearm. So did the cops go overboard with shooting him in the back? Absolutely. Absolutely. Should they have passed down the indictment based on the autopsy? Because if he's on the other side of the embankment, on the other side of a river or whatever, and he has his back to you, you continue to unload the gun. That's very interesting. 12 shots, 12 bullet holes in this young man. That's extremely disturbing. Let me know what you think about this story, family, because we're going to move on to the next one. Law enforcement and their heinous acts. Now, this particular story was shared to me. It came across my Instagram feed from Sister Watchman. Shout out to Sister Watchman for bringing this to my attention. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. And I was wondering if that was a recent account or is that something that was old? Because, nowadays they got a lot of old videos circulating. So I wanted to make sure that this wasn't an old video and that this was actually happening during these times. After all that what we've seen on social media and on the news, right? In the cops' bad behaviors. So yes, once again, we have law enforcement wielding their power and having no respect for citizens at all. So this story reads, when is enough enough? CMPD officers use force in a drug arrest draws scrutiny. And most certainly, it should draw. Take a look into how this police chief
everyone into our community. I get it. I understand the outrage. I understand the emotions that come when you look at a video that involves an officer who is punching a female who we're trying to make the arrest and subdue. I understand that. To our officers who put on this uniform and do the work every single day to keep our community safe, I'll tell you, I am still and always will be proud to be a Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officer for the last 32 years. I think we have a lot of great men and women who do great things every single day in our community to keep our community safe. But as we look at this video, we also have to understand what impact this has on the community. And what message does that send to the community when we take action against our response to a resistance of someone who we're trying to make an arrest? If I look at this entire thing, are there things that we can do better? Absolutely. Are there things that I wish would have never happened? Certainly. Are there things that I think we can take from this and become better as an agency? We're committed to that, and we're going to do that. We know that there are things that we can look at policy-wise, training-wise. We know that there are things that our officers are held under such high standards, but we don't want an incident such as this in the public eye to define who we are as an agency. I've been in those exact situations. I've been in struggles with men women, white, black, all of that in my 32 years of policing. And I can tell you that I've never been involved in using force that has looked pretty and has looked good to the public. So these are difficult situations, and all I ask is we continue to let this investigation internally play out. I have a really fine line to make sure that we are addressing this as the public and as our officers see that it needs to be addressed. The way that I do that is to look at the facts, the policy, and make that determination from that point. So it's going to be a long road from this point on, a lot of sleepless nights. But I assure you that when everything is said and done, we will be looking at the facts of all of everything that happened out there on that day.
Okay, family. So that's what the chief of police, Johnny Jennings, had to say as he, had to say something because of the backlash from the community. The community is not pleased. Okay. So I don't know why my screen just disappeared on me. I heard Ms. Watchman say that, they're messing with my feed big time, and I am believing her at this point. Yep, the whole screen just went black. Isn't that something? Okay, so we're going to try this again. Try sharing my screen again. Why they don't want me to talk about this story? This is amazing. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can see it over here. All right, so we're back on, y'all. Don't know why my screen just went black, but it just did. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and bring this information out, whether, Hashatan likes it or not. The truth will be told. Okay. At least 17. That's how many times the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department says Officer Vincent Penston hit Christina Pierre, who had just finished her shift at work. 7 knee strikes and 10 closed fist strikes. A video that circulated online this week showed part of the Monday arrest. Pierre was on the ground with several officers around her, but Penston kept punching. This ad's popping up. He kept punching someone that was already clearly on the ground with several police officers surrounding her on the ground, and he kept wailing on this young lady. Police say Pierre had punched an officer in the face before the camera rolled. Oh, really? I thought they're supposed to have their camera rolling as soon as they approach a citizen for their protection and for the citizen's protection as a record. That's the whole purpose of having body cameras worn, so that you can capture the entire encounter with the citizens. So they said that she punched an officer in the face before the camera rolled, that she was told to stop resisting, and that Penston was intentional about where he hit her. He landed compliance strikes targeting a nerve in her thigh, the department has said. Then how does she get a bruise on her face? Just saying. An unnamed officer returned the strike to Miss Officer's face before the tussle. Okay, so the citizen strike you in the face and you return hitting her in the face. This is what the police department is saying happened. But the body camera video don't show any of that. You got struck in the face, and then everybody simultaneously decided that they're going to turn their cameras on. like nobody has the encounter? Like everybody turned their cameras on at the same time. There were like several police officers there. So everybody turned their cameras like a simultaneous thing. Y'all all say rotate. Nobody had their cameras on prior to this. I'm just asking a question. Community leaders want to know when enough is enough. 17 is more than enough, several told the Charlotte Observer. Pierre and her partner, a co-worker, Anthony Lee, had clocked out from work at Bojangles near South Tyrone Street and West Arrowwood Road. Police say they were smoking marijuana at a bus stop. The officer stopped, engaged the two individuals, and stated that they were under arrest. The police department said in the news release Wednesday. Pierre became combative and struck an officer in the face. Both individuals refused arrest, and a struggle with the officers ensued. So at what point in time did the body cameras come on? I'm still asking this. At what point in time did the body cameras start rolling? For you to say, oh, when she punched him in the face, that wasn't on camera. It's just not adding up. It's not adding up, family. At some point, an unnamed officer struck Pierre in the face, police said. Why we don't have his name? Backup arrived. Police arrested Lee and found a concealed gun in his bag, they said. Cue the video captured by a bystander with Pierre on the ground and police on top of her. A number of people nearby shouted for them to stop as Piston punched her repeatedly. You're gonna kill her right on the ground, one bystander said. Officers carried her to a police car. Police charged Pierre with assault on a government official, resisting arrest, and simple possession of marijuana. They charged Lee with carrying a concealed firearm, resisting arrest, and simple possession of marijuana. Piston is now on temporary assignment with the investigative division, according to the police. And the community has questions. Some have cast doubt on the department's version of events. At least one witness told Observer News that she never saw Pierre hit an officer. Not one time did I ever see her slap him, hit him, or anything of that nature, said the witness, who the news station has identified as Donna. He balled his fist up and he hit her square in the face. Will Adams, the founder of a community group, Team True Blue, told the Charlotte Observer he took Pierre to the hospital. Pictures he provided shows marks on her cheeks. Now, if y'all want to read more about this story, please head on over to News, Facts, and Comments. All the news articles that I'm bringing out today, we have uploaded on News, Facts, and Comments. Go to newsfactsnc.net to get all the latest news and facts. And then I come on here and I give you my comments, right? We're going to present the news and we present the facts. So head on over to newsfactsnc.net to read more on that story, along with many, many other stories making news in this hour. So back to the crooked cops. Let's do this one. Oh yeah, they cutting up. They are cutting up in this hour, family. I mean, we cannot go one day without there being a report of an officer-involved shooting, an officer charged or suspected of brutalizing citizens, or an officer making an illegal arrest or detaining individuals illegally. So this next story says here, teen killed in Mobile, police officer involved shooting on Sheringham Drive. Let's play the video. Let's see what happens. After the ad play,
the national desk has America's
run its course. And I just want y'all to go ahead and put in the comments What do you think about the discretion, the amount of discretion police officers have? Let's see here. Go ahead and play the video.
We begin tonight with an officer-involved shooting here in Mobile that left a 16-year-old dead.
The shooting happened in a home on Sheringham Drive in a neighborhood off of Cottage Hill Road. The police chief says they'd been investigating drug activity at the home and were executing a search warrant. The police chief held a press conference about the shooting just here in the last hour.
NBC 15's Darwin Singleton was there. Darwin, tell us what he said.
Well, the chief talked a lot about how this group had prepared for this raid this morning, pre-dawn hours this morning, because there had been drug activity, they said, and they've been watching it for a while. They were after one person in particular, 18-year-old Angelo Adjessam. Now, he was not at the house, say police, when the raid went down. He arrived a little bit later. In fact, our cameras caught him being arrested a short time after that raid and what happened inside. Now, we do know that inside, even though Justin wasn't there, there was that 16-year-old and about possibly as many as 8 other family members, several other family members, including an 8-year-old. So there were family members there, and Adjessam is related to the 16-year-old who was fatally shot by officers. There's a lot of things we're just learning about this during the news conference, but we can tell you this. One thing that happened as a result of today's incident is the mayor and the chief got together and they decided no more pre-dawn raids for now because they say they want this to be reviewed by a third party. Here's what the chief had to say just moments ago.
The mayor and I both agree that there should be an objective third-party review of our policies, procedures, and practices. He has reached out and contacted former U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of Alabama, Mr. Kenyon Brown, to review these policies, practices, and procedures, and to issue findings and recommendations of such report within 90 days.
Now, the police department will be conducting its own investigation as well. All of that is turned over to the district attorney to take a look at, and possibly a grand jury if they find that something may have not been followed correctly or there might be some question. The grand jury would take a look at it and then decide whether or not to return an indictment. As for D'Angelo Adjessam, he is in jail. He has charges against him: unlawful possession of marijuana first degree, certain persons forbidden to own a firearm, and unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. The officer is, as is customary, on administrative leave. We're going to talk more about this coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. We have some more information to share with you. We didn't get to right now, but we will then. So join us at 6 at police headquarters.
So as you can see, family, the cop is on administrative leave, still receiving a paycheck, while the cops investigate the cops. Now, the mayor said he was going to have an independent third party look into it, review their practices, and decide whether or not they should no longer do in the middle of the morning, at dawn, like not at dusk, like 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., where people are normally sleeping at that time. That's when you decide that you're going to go and do a raid on a home, not knowing the individuals who are actually residing in the home at the time. Or maybe you do know, because you just said that you was staking out the place. So you knew that the person that you were looking for were not there by themselves. And you decide to go in at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, guns blazing, to do what? Arrest someone because you suspect them dealing drugs. A drug offense determines your life. According to police officers these days, if you're suspected of dealing drugs, you could very well die. It could become deadly. Let's go ahead and read what the article says. See what we can make of this, family. And again, I'm not going to read it in its entirety, but you can get the whole article on Newsfacts in comment, newsfactsnc.net. On Monday, November 13, 2023, at approximately 5:37 a.m., narcotics units accompanying SWAT officers executed a knock and announce search warrant on the 3400 block of Sherman Drive. That's like police, boom, and they come in. Don't give you a chance to put some clothes on. Don't give you a chance to wake up out of your sleep and be cognizant of what's going on around you. Can't get your wits together. You're just coming up out of a sleep and you open up, police, and just come in because you have a warrant. What judge signed that warrant? That's what I would like to know. So so it's a knock and announce. Knock and announce. You knock and then announce. This is the police. Search warrant on the 3400 block of Sherman Drive. Upon entering the premises, officers was met by a 16-year-old male occupant who was armed with a large-sided handgun and was pointing it at them. Okay, so if you just knock down my door and I hear a whole bunch of rambling in the inside and I'm still asleep at 5:30 in the morning, I'm going to have my gun too. Because I don't know, I can't even comprehend what's going on at this time. Like, what's happening? Like, is there an intruder? Did somebody just break in my house? How do we know that they even heard them say police? Or did they even say police? That's why they stressed, knock and announce. The occupant was subsequently transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. In accordance with standard procedures for all incidents involving officers, the use of force, 2 separate and independent investigations will be undertaken. The Mobile Police Department Criminal Investigation Unit will handle an examination of the shooting incident, while the Office of Professional Responsibility will oversee an administrative review of the officer's actions. All materials related to the investigation will be submitted to the district attorney's office for their review. The officer involved in the case will be placed on administrative leave. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Do they have too much discretion? You can read the rest of this article on News Facts and Comments, News Facts NC. Now, this is why I posed a question earlier. Do law enforcement have too much discretion? They could just go to the judge and say, yeah, we have been watching this place for a long time and we suspect that there's drug activity there. So we need a warrant to go in and we're gonna knock and we're gonna announce that we're coming in into a private citizen's home. Is that too much discretion? A judge does the judge have too much discretion in deciding, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put my joint Hancock on this particular warrant because these cops said that they suspect something? Is that too much discretion? To me, it's like when these judges sign off on these knock and announce warrants or no knock warrants, they are actually effectually giving the cops permission to invade your privacy. That's just bottom line. So we're moving on to the next story. And here is the one that I want you guys to be aware of when it comes to the discretion that these police officers have in this hour. It's even affecting children. It used to be that children weren't arrested. A mere police presence with a child would be enough to say to that child, hey, I better straighten up, because you're supposed to have that type of fear for the police, right? That they're an authority and they could take you to jail. Nowadays, they are doing it, effectively supplying the school to prison pipeline. See, a child can get a record, a juvenile record. And we're talking about elementary age children. So wait till I read this article and see what type of children that they are targeting. New data, over 100 elementary age children arrested in U.S. schools. And no, this is not an old article. This was recently published, November 16. 2023. Police arrested more than 100 children at elementary schools during the 2020-2021 school year, according to a newly released data analyzed by CBS News. Let's see if I can get this ad out the way. Great. The Department of Education data showed fewer children were arrested at school than in previous years. This is likely in part because students were learning remotely rather than in person due to the pandemic, a senior Department of Education official said. So they're basically saying, yeah, but they weren't at home getting educated through the computer. If they'd actually been in class, we'd have called for the police to arrest a whole bunch of them. I blame the schools. Because in order for a police officer to even show up on campus, they have to be invited, or somebody had to have made a call. And now I truly believe that if you are a what do you call it? An educational professional. If you're in education and you're a professional, whether you are a counselor, a principal, or a teacher, or even a cafeteria worker at this point, and you can't handle children, I think that you need to seek employment somewhere else. This perhaps education is not for you, especially with elementary children. I mean, we're talking about children from the age of 5 to maybe 10 or 11 before they go off to middle school, elementary school. The Department of Education data show fewer children were arrested in the previous years. In elementary schools alone, about 3,500 so-called referrals to law enforcement where a student is reported to police but not arrested were also counted in the data. Catherine Lyman, Assistant Secretary, Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, said the number of elementary school arrests and referrals was enormously distressing. My heart is broken when I know that those kids, those kinds of circumstances take place, period. And we are examining whether there's a civil rights component to it that needs to be addressed as part of our job in the Civil Rights Office of the Department of Education. The data published on November 15th is the only national survey of civil rights at schools in the country. It highlighted a range of disparities faced by students of color, so-called Blacks, so-called African Americans, so-called Latinos, and students with disabilities, including access of more advanced curriculum, internet availability, and school discipline. Last year, CBS News reported on arrests in elementary schools using similar data from the 2017-2018 school year. That year, CBS counted more than 700 arrests in grades 1 through 5. 700 arrests. In this country, we're allowing law enforcement to have the discretion to handcuff children and place them under arrest without contacting the parents. So now you're eroding parental rights. And like they said, is there a civil rights component? It's damn sure to me a human rights component when they can allow just mere school teachers to call the police on an underage child, like 5 to 11 years old. I ask again, do law enforcement have too much discretion? It's not enough to just go to the school and kind of scare the young child into doing the right thing with a threat of being arrested. No, they actually slapping handcuffs on our little ones. And it's not handcuffs, they use these zip ties on our little ones. Our little short leggers are being targeted so they can have a record, so they can be discouraged from learning. You know what kind of psychological that effect that it have on the child's brain when you are arrested at school, what type of embarrassment that brings to that child, how they're supposed to continue in school, you know, and focus on school without having the fear that if I do one thing or say one thing, I'm going to be arrested and actually handcuffed and actually taken away. And my mama and my daddy don't even know that this happened to me. They can't even be there to save the child. That's very traumatizing to a young person. And so with that, family, you know, we have to keep asking, how do we take the discretionary powers away from these judges and away from these law enforcement officers? Because of the discretion that was portrayed in the case involving Otha Wallace, the discretion that the judge had that presided over the case, and the discretion that the prosecutor, the attorneys had with deciding what to bring into evidence, and the discretion that the deceased officer took it upon himself to illegally detain Otha Wallace, there was a fatal shooting. And Mr. Otha Wallace is now facing 30 years behind discretionary decisions. Discretionary decisions made by those in so-called law enforcement judicial branch of this so-called government. So in light of that, I'm going to share with you a video that was submitted to me from PLAP, People Legal Aid Project, and it's announcing that in an effort to try to raise funds for Mr. Otha Wallace, they're going to have a winter special on December 21st, 2023. So if you haven't already, go ahead and go to otha.org and make your monthly, weekly contribution to his legal defense fund, because I say again, this could have been you. And you guys see that if they don't have no respect for little children, you know what they're going to do to you. And it's just that time and hour. I'll take a break right here.
Hey, shalom everybody, what's going on? Y'all know it's y'all brother Ozone, man. I just want to send y'all my love, you know what I'm saying, and just tell y'all thank y'all for riding with me, for those who have been connected to me, you know what I'm saying, through the JPay system and stuff, man. Y'all, you know, big shout out to y'all, but I want to let y'all know, man, I love everybody who's been riding with me, who's been pushing forward, you know, helping me get through this situation. I want to encourage y'all, just keep standing with me. I'll be able to talk to y'all through this here and now, so y'all be on the lookout.
So
Tim Probisco for the defense.
Let's go ahead over to otha.org and make your contributions today, family. That's what I ask. Do me that favor. Make your contribution today. Nothing is too small. Definitely nothing is too big, right? Help our brothers come home, return home to his beautiful children. An appeal has been filed, and we're raising money so that we can continue to pay for his legal defense, his appellate team. So don't leave our brother hanging out there. So now let's go ahead and switch gears to politics. And I know you guys not living on a bus, and I know you guys are witnessing all of the turmoil and just unrest that's going on around in our country today, based on if you're pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. Where do you fall on the spectrum, family, or do you even care? Should we be concerned? I'm going to go ahead and read this one story, and then I'll kind of answer that question where I'm coming from on it. Gun charges dropped against NYC lawmaker who brought a firearm to pro-Palestinian protest. This was published on November 17. What we know, prosecutors cannot pursue a gun charge against a Brooklyn lawmaker following a police lab report showing the firearm was unloaded and inoperable. Councilwoman Ayanna Vernikoff, a Republican and vocal supporter of Israel, was seen in photos and videos with the butt of a gun jutting out from her waistband while she was counter-protesting at an October 13th pro-Palestinian rally at Brooklyn College. Vernikoff had a license to carry a concealed weapon, but under New York law, licensed gun owners may not bring weapons to certain sensitive locations, including protests and school grounds. Now, right there, law enforcement has used discretion. Again, prosecutor cannot pursue charges because the gun was inoperable and wasn't loaded. But this says, according to New York law, that you can't bring a gun. It didn't say whether it was operable or had bullets in it. They said you just can't bring a gun. Check the language. Let me continue. A Brooklyn lawmaker arrested last month after she was seen on social media displaying a handgun at a pro-Palestinian rally at Brooklyn College will have her criminal charges dismissed, the prosecutor's office confirmed. Councilwoman Ayanna Vernikoff, a Republican and vocal supporter of Israel, was seen in the photos and videos with the butt of the gun jutting out from her waistband while she was counter-protesting at an October 13 pro-Palestinian rally at Brooklyn College, according to prosecutors. Hold up. So she's at a school and she's at a protest, but she can't have charges brought on her. She filmed herself in front of protesting crowds, calling them pro-Hamas, and that she was there to help Jewish students feel safe. Vernikoff called the Palestinian supporters nothing short of terrorists without the bombs. Vernikoff had a license to carry a concealed weapon, but as I said, you can't bring that weapon into certain types of environments. Additionally, the state requires people licensed to carry handguns to keep them concealed. Well, obviously, she failed on that account as well. Vernikoff surrendered her gun after the arrest and was later arraigned in Brooklyn criminal court on one count of possessing a gun at a sensitive location. The firearm the councilwoman turned over to police was unloaded and missing the coil spring assembly, rendering it inoperable. Oren Yanif. Check the names, y'all. I'm just saying. Spokesperson for Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez said on Friday, well, all I'm going to say is that she gets a pass. She gets a pass and other people do not. Several laws, at least three laws was broken, but she gets a pass. So as the pro-Palestinians are out there protesting, along with the pro-Israeli people out there protesting, what we missed in politics is that the Congress was able to pass a bill that avoids a government shutdown. And it says here that there were prominent Democrats that fought for this bill to be pushed through because they fear it would harm the Black community. Let's take a listen to what Hakeem Jeffries had to say.
just 7 days left to fund the government in order to prevent a government shutdown. I spoke with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who told me that House Democrats are working around the clock to avert a government shutdown next Friday.
We're going to do everything possible to make sure that we avoid an extreme MAGA Republican government shutdown. It will be reckless. It is designed to hurt everyday Americans all across the country, and we have to avoid it.
Earlier this week, House Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters that House members want to avoid a shutdown and that he would reveal a plan soon. To date, a plan has not yet been revealed, leaving many Americans in limbo. If a government shutdown were to take place next Friday, it would have dire consequences.
So as we know, I just told you that the Senate did pass this bill, and so it was avoided, right? So this is what Hakeem, some other Congressional Black Caucus members had to say. A shutdown will hurt Black Americans and our country's working families, resulting in loss of wages and weighing down on our nation's economy. The Congresswoman Shontel Brown said asking them to work without pay or furloughing them is both disrespectful and bad governance. Now, if you all don't realize it, that the majority of what we call the so-called middle class in our community work at government jobs, right? That was part of the New Deal, right? To give individuals jobs in government and working for the federal government as to boost the economy in the Black community so they can become homeowners and things of that nature. So if they shut the government down, they will be furloughed until they can figure it out. So that's what all of that was all about. And I'm glad to see that the Congressional Black Caucus members stood up and made their voices felt and did not allow the Republicans to shut down the government based on some, political bias or some type of, political gain to prove that they can. Meanwhile, people don't have income coming in. They live in paycheck to paycheck. You shut down the government, they can't pay their rent, they can't pay their mortgage, can't pay their car note, can't feed their families. These are the type of things that these so-called Congressional Black Caucus members put forward to the Senate. And like I said, the Senate did pass that bill and is avoided. Let me make sure I'm still sharing my screen and that you all still can hear me. Great. Okay, so it says here, U.S. Senate passes a stopgap funding bill to avert the government shutdown. Let's see if this article is going to tell us what's in the bill. Washington, November 15th, the U.S. Senate took the risk of an impeding partial government shutdown off the table on Wednesday as it passed a stopgap spending bill and sent it to the President Joe Biden to sign into law before weekend deadline. The 87-11 vote marked the end of this year's third fiscal standoff in Congress that saw lawmakers bring Washington to the brink of defaulting on its more than $31 trillion debt this spring, and twice within days of a partial shutdown that would have interrupted pay for 4 million federal workers. The last near miss with shutdown led to October 3rd ouster of Republican U.S. House Representative Speaker Kevin McCarthy that left the chamber leaders for 3 weeks. But lawmakers have brought themselves just a little more than 2 months breathing room. The Democratic majority Senate and Republican-controlled House of Representatives' next deadline is January 19th, just days after the Iowa caucuses signal the start of the 2024 presidential campaign election. So, are they going to use the government, the government way of paying their bills as a political football, as gamesmanship? Like, the people's lives are at stake. Depending on what y'all do, y'all need to pay your bills, right? If you're going to be this so-called justice for all in this so-called, we're going to spread democracy around the world and we're going to do right humanitarian by everyone around the world. Start right here by making sure you pay your bills so that your federal workers are not laid off or furloughed. Can we just do that? So shouts out to Speaker Mike Johnson for producing the bill that drew broad bipartisan support, which is a rarity in U.S. politics. Democrats said they were happy to it stuck to spending levels that had been set in May agreement with Biden and did not include pause and pill provisions on abortion and other hot button social issues. So please believe when I tell you that they're going to be back again January 19, 2024 with the same thing, attaching or attaching amendments dealing with abortion rights and other hot button issues such as CRT and education and affirmative action and all of these other hot button issues that affect mostly African Americans. If we don't know, we should know by now that we are the ones that's headed to the abortion clinics. Why? Because the abortion clinics are in our neighborhoods. I've never seen a Planned Parenthood in the white neighborhood. I've never. And if you know of one, and the median income is more than $65,000 or $50,000 in that area, please let me know, because it just doesn't exist. Or I would be stunned if it does exist. And I would acknowledge, I'll come back on here and say, I was wrong. So please let me know. But these are the things that our so-called politicians are doing in this hour, using social issues as a reason for not paying your bills, threatening the livelihood of millions of Americans. But, that's your lawmakers. We continue to give these people our votes, and they continue to make a mockery of the system. So, speaking of our people, we have a New Orleans legend in her own way, whose family home was listed on the National Register of Historic Places, Aretha Castle Haley. I don't know, some of you may not know of her, and some of us do, especially those of us who grew up in and around New Orleans. So they even, I remember when I was younger, they changed a name of a street to Aretha Castle Haley. The street used to be named Dries, and now it's called Aretha Castle Haley. And so I was always fascinated about her story and her civil rights activism, a true civil rights activist. So let's get a little bit of Black history right now, since her family has made historic news. From New Orleans, the New Orleans home where civil rights activist Aretha Castle Haley grew up, and that served as a hub for Louisiana's civil rights movement in the 1960s, has been added to the National Register of Historic Places. The Tremaine neighborhood craftsman-style home at 919 North Tanta Street, which Haley shared with her parents and sisters Doris, is listed on the National Register as the Castle family home, and later became known as the Freedman House, serving as a backdrop for pivotal moments in the city's civil rights history. Haley participated in numerous protests, demonstrations, sit-ins, fighting for racial equality, and notably challenged the segregation of facilities and lunch counters in New Orleans, and promoted Black voter registration throughout Louisiana. She died in 1987 of ovarian cancer. In 1989, the city honored her memory by renaming Dry Street to the site of many civil rights demonstrations to Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard. So to read more on this story and learn more about Aretha Castle Haley, please visit News, Facts, and Comments once again to learn more about this story. So I wanted to bring your attention to a story that our dear beloved Major TV did. He had the pleasure of interviewing a gold guru. something that, we don't see a lot of in individuals that have expert knowledge in gold, and they're willing to share their knowledge with us freely. And so I applaud Mr. Clive Lindsay for coming through for that interview. And I also want to give a shout out to Major TV for having the wherewithal and the want to gain more knowledge on how we can invest in gold. So I'm just going to play a little bit of clip from that interview. But if you want to see the full interview, go to Major TV Let's Talk on YouTube, or it's also on News, Facts, and Comments on YouTube, and it's also on Generational Wealth Building on YouTube. So you have several places that you can check this interview out. We want to spread the word, let people know that they do have options when it comes to investing, and that they can invest in gold. It's not a pipe dream. It's a reality. And when you watch the video, you're going to find out why it's important and imperative that you do so. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play a little snippet from that video. Let me pull it up here. So this is the interview with Mr. Clyde Davis and Major TV.
Yeah, so just basically, we're moving away from Keynesian economics. We're now moving to Austrian economics, which is, where it should be. So you've got these and the the G7 nations. The whole world is going back to a gold standard, and this is why we think it's going to moon, literally moon very soon. So I just covered that 1971 bit. You talked about Roosevelt, good knowledge as well, brother. I'm very impressed there when he outlawed gold. A lot of people say to me, is that going to happen again? Well, no, it's not. And there's two main reasons. One, we don't, back in the 1920s, or it was actually in the 30s, brother, when Roosevelt did that, the average person was quite awake. We actually had a really good education system. So we were trained at school that gold was real money. Now they try and teach us that, it's for crazy people or conspiracy theorists. So in the 20s, people were quite educated, and most of their portfolio, a lot of it actually, they had gold in there. So the average American in the 1920s and 30s, 8% of their portfolio was exposed to gold, whether it was jewelry, gold under the mattress, gold nuggets, or they had shares in gold companies, but it was about 8%. Today, brother, because we've been programmed not to buy gold, that number is more like less than 1%. So we as a people don't own enough gold for them to outlaw. The average American doesn't, because the central been buying all of it. So that's not going to happen for one reason. There's no gold. But also, if you look at the attitudes, if you look at some of my clients in Texas, they've probably got more guns than they have pair of socks. Okay. You go and knock at a Texan man's door and say, look, that we're the government and we believe you own some gold and we're going to, we want it back, give it back to us. It's just not going to happen. There's going to be uproar. So the nice thing about gold, though, is it does give power and freedom as a people, because even if the bloody government did come and knock on our doors and say, oh, where's your gold? Well, oh, okay, I had some. I was looking at it in the garden yesterday. Hold on, let me just check if it's still in the garden. Oh, it's gone. What do you want to do about it? Yeah, it gives us power and it gives us freedom, which is great. But there's going to be no outlawing for those particular reasons.
So there you have it, a little snippet of what Mr. Clive Davis had to say in relation to gold. And to get more on that interview, to hear his full layout, and also to get his information, his contact information, you have to go to Major TV Let's Talk on YouTube, News, Facts, and Comments on YouTube, or Generational Wealth Builder on YouTube, and click on that video, sit back, listen, and learn something about how you too can build generational wealth for your family using gold. You heard the man talk about guns. We own a lot of guns, but we don't have any gold. So get that into your investment portfolio straight away. Now, I've gone over my time by just a little bit, so I'm not going to get into all of the entertainment news. I'm just going to flash through these stories really quick to let you guys know. And like I said, all of these stories that I'm speaking of today are featured on News, Facts, and Comments, newsfactsnc.net. Run all over there to get the full stories on all of this. But Clark Atlanta University makes history as the first HBCU with a media sales, operation, and marketing curriculum. Michi X. You're going to soon be able to go to Clark Atlanta University to get a degree in media sales, operations, and marketing. And so maybe they'll hire Michi X over there at Clark Atlanta, because she really did an excellent job with explaining how to utilize social media and turn it into a business. In other entertainment news, T.I. and Tiny opened their first affordable housing complex in Atlanta. So days are just popping off in Atlanta. They say Atlanta is the new chocolate city. So I'm hearing a lot of great things come out of that. And for T.I. and his wife to focus on the needs of housing our people, I think that's phenomenal, and making it affordable. That's also outstanding, as opposed to hearing the crazy stories about Caesar Pena and Flippin' NJ and DJ Envy, and how now they are now trying to sue Tony the Closer, after Tony the Closer exposed them and got the FBI and everybody investigating them, and they pressed charges against Caesar Pena. Caesar Pena, you're going to say he defamed his character. Defamation of character. Can you believe that? I can't. Just our people. So shouts out to T.I. and Tiny for opening their first affordable housing complex in Atlanta. Great things going on in Atlanta with our people. And also, this is one that kind of threw me by surprise. Our dear beloved Snoop Dogg said that he's not smoking weed anymore. He put the marijuana down. It says here, while it's unclear why Snoop Dogg concluded that no longer smoking marijuana was in his best interest, he has inspired others to kiss cannabis goodbye, including two of his fellow rappers, Meek Mill and Corey LeRae. So family, entertainment news is not my sweet spot, but I want to share with you, and I'm going to try to highlight every Sunday one of my favorite YouTubers or content creators, podcasters on YouTube, and that is The Plainest Jane. She has 37.8 thousand subscribers. She also have a community where you can join in and you get special perks and things whatnot. She goes backstage. She has backstage for members only kind of parties. And so if you want the latest and the greatest update on what's going on with P. Diddy and with Cassie, whatever her name is, please go over to Plainest Jane and check her out. She is the best investigative entertainment news podcaster out there. You're going to love her spirit. You're going to love the way that she presents the facts, and do a little bit, like she said, a little splash of controversy, right? So go on over to her page and check out all the details about P. Diddy and Cassie, along with, a whole bunch of other stories related to, news stories related to our entertainers in our entertainment world. So, I know that was a lot to digest, but I do thank you all for tuning in. I do want to leave you with this last video that I came across, and this is how we keep our family together. I think this is a terrific start to bringing our people together, connecting the bridges from the diaspora back to the motherland, Africa. Check this video out.
Our people today, Africa is too far away. So the only way you and I can point them in that direction is build new bridges. We have to have the type of understanding of Africa and the type of understanding of our people here in order to build a bridge, a contact, a line of communication between the two. And once the lines of communication have been established, and our African brothers can stretch forth their hands and reach us, and we can stretch forth our hands and reach them.
Contact that will connect African Americans, those in the diaspora, with their brothers and sisters in the African continent. That's what we call visionary, seeing the future and how important it is for black people to come together and be stronger. Exchange cultural values. Know each other's histories, and the diaspora will know more about their ancestry that is of African descent. Lots of African Americans, Caribbeans, and Afro-Latinos want to visit Africa and invest in Africa. Build a big business, explore every opportunity that Africa has, own second home. But they don't know who to talk to or where to start from. Today we have these great men and women of intellectuals that have selflessly taken it upon themselves to connect diasporans to the motherland of Africa. They founded We Building Bridges.
We Building Bridges is a 21st century pro-black platform that helps the diaspora connect to Africa.
We bring you the right information to know what Africa have to you. Connect you to the right people that will help you own things you can own in Europe, things you can never own in America. So we help you to own land, a second home. We are building this house in a way that is affordable for you as a diasporan who really wants to own a home in Africa.
Building new bridges is imperative to the unity of the African diaspora and the African continent. It's very important to establish economic, social, political, cultural between the African diaspora and the African continent.
We Building Bridges is an organization that is looking to bridge the gap between African Americans and the continent.
We're all for black people in the diaspora to help them, connect them to the opportunities that are available for them that are here on the continent.
I am showing this land for an African American that specified that he wanted land near the lake. Now mind you, I'm boots on the ground, but guess what? Checking on my directs, duplex, my investments. You can do the same. Also, be in America, come back to Africa, and check on your investment.
I want to come on here and just encourage everybody to look into this wonderful opportunity with We Building Bridges. And see, at this time right now, even though the dollar is very much volatile, this is the best time to use your dollar to buy, build, and own your own home free and clear in Nigeria and with We Building Bridges.
We Building Bridges is also imperative to STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but most important, industrialization relationships. We need an industry for the African diaspora and the African continent so we can liberate our mother continent.
I'm excited to be hosting a tour in Nigeria, working with BTMA, and it is going to be an amazing transition for those who are looking to dream bigger, faster, and believe bigger, faster, and to do more.
We Building Bridges is educating African Americans and Caribbeans, educating Afro-Latinos, and those on the island on the African cultures. Businesses they can own in Africa, house, land, and real estate in Africa. Invest in healthcare, school, hospitalities, and entertainment, and connect them to the right people and companies to work with. We Building Bridges have boots on the ground for African Americans in the diaspora as they educate and connect with the royal fathers, mothers of different African nations and tribes on the diaspora returns to Africa. With We Building Bridges, many African Americans have bought up lands, invested in real estate, taken tour, own farms, schools, manufacturing companies, healthcare, etc. You too can be a part of this great movement. Join We Building Bridges today and connect to the motherland of Africa to explore the opportunities Africa has. We are building bridges.
Write that number down, y'all.
New bridges must be built.
So I hope y'all were able to capture that number. You can play it back and freeze the screen. But here's their YouTube channel, where you can go to the YouTube channel and see all what they're doing in Africa, learn about the African tour that they have going on over there. So definitely something that I'm going to look into and take seriously. I'm looking for an investment, investing in gold sounds good. And also investing in the motherland sounds extremely good. So that's just, a Cote's take on what I think we need to do in order to secure our future and think about our generations that's coming after us. So with that being said, as usual, it has been a pleasure to bring you guys the news and the facts with a little bit of my commentary. I want to say that what we do here on News, Facts, and Comments is not about clickbait, and it's not about popularity. It's about bringing you information that you can use so that you can make righteous decisions in your life and warn your other fellow brothers and sisters about these things so that you can be aware. Knowledge is power. And the scripture said that my people shall be destroyed for lack of knowledge. So don't let your vanity get in the way of your better understanding, your growth. Because that's all what we're about here at News, Facts, and Comments, giving you news with the facts and some commentary that can help you and your family build better and stronger lives. And with that, I say, I love you all with the love of Yahuwah, and we'll see you next time. Oh, once again, I forgot to tell you guys, on Okoti Speaks channel, on Okoti Speaks, that's ACHOITI, ACHOTI, don't even know how to spell my own name. Okay, ACHOTI, Okoti Speaks, tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. I am going to bring you an exclusive podcast that I did on Michael Rappaport. It's time that we cancel him. So go and get you something to eat. In about 30 minutes, come back to Okoti Speaks, and we're going to talk about Mr. Michael Rappaport. It's going to premiere at 7 p.m. Central Time. See you then. Once again, I love you all with the love of Yahuwah. Take care of yourself and each other. Shalom.
One for the money, you know what it is. Two for the show, yeah, we shut it down. Three just to make sure you ready. Four, let them know that we run this town. One for the money, you know what it is. Two for the show, yeah, we shut it down. Three just to make sure you ready. Four, let them know that we run. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest. The greatest of all time. The greatest of all time.
I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better.
One for the money, you know what it is. Two for the show, yeah, we shut it down. Three just to make sure you ready. Four, let them know that we run this town. One for the money, you know what it is. Two for the show, yeah, we shut it down. Three just to make sure you ready.